Today I'll show you guys some beauty makeup that I've been playing around with. I had a go at cream contouring and I was trying for a warm bronze eye. I started prepping my skin with lots of moisturizers, which you can see in my skincare video here. It didn't help as much as it normally does, as my skin was feeling particularly parched this day, and you'll see that later in the video. I started with my E.L.F. primer, then I moved on to my Bourjois Healthy Mix Foundation. I'm using the two lightest shades mixed together as I'm in between. My skin has been pretty balanced lately, so I have been using this instead of my Skin 79 BB cream, but if you're on the dry side, this foundation can highlight it. It's medium coverage and it looks quite natural otherwise. I'm using some Camouflage Cream Concealer over my little burst capillary mark here. Then to practice my cream contouring, I'm using my RCMA palette. This is the ACMUSE palette, which is a makeup academy here. I start contouring using this shade. I find my cheekbone and try to place the contour on the lower half of my cheekbone, going from the top of my ear down towards the corner of the mouth. Next I'll go up around my forehead. I also go onto my chin to try to make my face look more symmetrical. And I also wanted that neckbeard style. Then I contoured my nose, and be careful here because I discovered the hard way that if you're not very good at drawing straight lines, contouring the nose crookedly obviously is going to make it look kind of bad. I then blended that out with a damp beauty blender. You can also use a brush, and just be careful of the direction that you're blending it, keep it controlled in the areas that you want. To go under my eyes, I will use the Tarte Maracuja Creaseless Concealer, which is so amazing. Just look at that difference. Then I'll pick the lightest shade here and I'll go over my cheekbones, and then down the center of my nose and a little bit into my forehead. I'll also go over my cupid's bow and my chin. I blended this out with a large concealer brush. Now to make sure it's all blended out and more natural looking with no harsh lines, I go over everything with my foundation brush. Then I set it all with a translucent powder. I'm going to go over the contouring again with some powder just to make it a little bit smoother looking and to amp it up a little bit. I'm using Too Faced Chocolate Soleil, which smells like cocoa and dreams. Using a fluffy angled brush and light to medium pressure, I'm going to go on the underside of my cheekbone again and up onto my forehead and my chin. It's easier to start with less and then add more. Then I added a highlighter onto my cheekbones. This is my first time using Candlelight Glow and I love it. It's so pretty. To get a natural but defined brow, I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills Browers in Taupe for the front 1/3 of the brow, drawing a smooth line on the bottom from the front to the middle of the brow, and then using light upward strokes to mimic the hair. Next, I'll use some medium brown color for the back 2/3 of my brow, filling in and defining the tail. You can see here between my brows on the top of my nose that my skin was being a bit meh and like just flaky. To correct this, I literally just put more moisturizer on after filming this and patted it in. I use a brush on the end of the brow wiz to comb the product through the front of the brow and even out any blocky patches, and then I pat it with my finger to make sure it's not too drawn on and harsh looking. Then I used a clear brow gel to try and get the front end of my eyebrows to stand up to make my brows look a little bit fuller. I used some concealer under the eyebrows to make the shape more defined and clean. I also used a brow highlighter. You can use your normal highlighter or a light eyeshadow here as well. I'm going to be using Urban Decay's Sin Primer for my eyelids as it's got a bit of a shimmer to it and I want a shimmery shadow look. I'm using a warm gold shadow by Stilazzi over the lid, patting it onto my lid and above my crease, and also bringing it down across the lower lash line. And to make it a bit warmer and orangey, I'm going to use the only pure orange shadow that I have, which is Slowburn in the Urban Decay Electric palette. But I only want a little bit, so I'm going to really lightly pat it over the outer 2/3 of the lid. Then to darken the outer 1/3, I'm using Anastasia Beverly Hills Sienna shadow. I apply it with a small brush and then using a clean blending brush to blend that out, using very precise strokes for where I want to spread the colour, so up along the crease and across the outer 1/3 of the lid. I also run the colour along the outer half of my lower lid. I decide to darken it a couple more times after blending and looking at the colour pigmentation. I then go across the whole lid just to try and get a smoother gradient. I decided I wanted to add a bit more shimmer to finish it off, so I went for this shimmery brown by Stilazzi over the outer half of the eyelid, and then I blended it some more. I then got another blending brush that was a little bit cleaner than the one I was using, just to go over the outer edges one last time to make sure it was a smooth transition. Now I'm using Stila's All Day Liner to give myself a nice winged line. This is one of the easiest eyeliners I've ever used. I start thin in the inner corner and then build up thickness towards the outer corner. Because my eyelids are kind of small, I can't do a giantly angled wing or else my crease will cut it off. So I have a kind of straight wing out and then connect it up, making sure I stay below that outer crease. I managed to get them looking pretty even, which is a huge victory for me. Next I'll curl my lashes and I'll add some mascara on the top and bottom lashes. My current jam is Maybelline Great Lash. It doesn't make my lashes look as long as a falsies mascara does, but it also doesn't transfer all over my brow bone, which the falsies was doing, and it was driving me insane. You can stop here, but I wanted to go a little more glam, so I'm adding some false lashes. I really like Ardell's Demi Wispies. I apply some duo adhesive to the lash and wait like a minute and a half because it takes a while to get tacky, and then apply the lash to the center, then the outer corner, and then the inner corner. This lash is good for me because there's not a whole lot of room on my eyelid, so when I wear the full, they look really crazy and they touch my eyebrows, but the demis look quite lovely and natural. Next I will line my lips. I'm using Makeup Forever lip liner, which matches my lip colour pretty closely. My lips aren't really the right shape to be overlined, it looks kind of weird, so I stay pretty close to my natural lip line and just fill in the centre. For the lip colour, I wanted something that wasn't super bright and my lips were feeling kind of dry, so I went for the Revlon lip butter in Pink Truffle, which I love. It's kind of sheer, so you can just apply it and go, but I wanted it to be applied a little bit more nicely for the video, so I used a brush to get the edges cleaner and straighter, and then I used some concealer just to sharpen up the lip line. This is the finished look. Ah shit, I forgot blush. Okay, hold up, I'm just gonna add something a little bit more subtle, Benefit's Dandelion blush. Okay, now this is the finished look. I hope you enjoyed watching this. I'll link my skincare routine and everyday makeup here if you're interested. Otherwise, I will be back soon with more special effects.